Hey there, welcome to today's episode of Q&A Helpline, where every Thursday I speak on a specific topic and I answer some of my members' questions that have to do with real estate marketing, getting inquiries, getting closings, and help them improve customer service. So today's topic that we are going to cover today itself is mortgagee sales, why and how to get this business. So that's the topic today. But before that, I'm gonna be speaking about some of the questions that I have from members. And one of the persistent questions we keep getting is how to get others to do follow-up for you. All right. And here's the thing, right? When you are running marketing, when you are running your advertising, right, and assuming you have leads coming in, right, here's the thing, right? The number one problem for agents who have leads coming in has to do with follow-up, and that is because of there are a number of reasons, but the biggest reason, let me tell you, is has to do with not enough time to do follow-up with those leads that come in, and that is a huge wastage. That's a big that's one of the biggest wastage in our industry, and this is a problem in our industry right now. So that's where some of the agents, right, because they get so much overflow of business, which is a good thing, but then they need help. That's where some of my even I used to face this problem. And let me tell you how I solve this problem. And what I see many agents doing is that they quickly go out and they start hiring anyhow without understanding what is it that they want their assistant to do, and then they end up carrying this kind of complaints, this kind of issues that the assistant doesn't do enough follow up, or doesn't do follow up the right way, or it's not fast enough. Basically, he doesn't do what you want them to do, right? So the concern is how to do the follow up how to do the follow-up the right way and at the right time, which is as soon as possible, so that your opportunities are maximized, your business is maximized. All those prospects who are ready to book an appointment actually get an appointment with you, and all those prospects who are ready to close right now, they actually do close right now. So how I solved this problem all those years ago, basically, the first thing that I did was, instead of quickly blindly instead of blindly hiring anybody or anyone for this job, right? What I did was I sat down and I decided, there were certain things that I had to do, and there were certain things that my assistant had to do. And I came up with, what are the tasks, what are the jobs, what are the things that I could do it. For example, I came up with a list, and at the top of that list was actually appointment and closing and customer service. So all these were my jobs, right? Appointments, closing, and customer service. That made me money, right? But the thing is that I had field advertising which was active. I had leads coming in, and I had to give that business to somebody else who could be who could take it very serious. And I found out one thing, and that thing was if you are the one putting in the money, you are the one advertising, you are the one it's your budget on the line, right? You care about your business. But what I found out all those years ago, when I first started hiring, that those assistants, they just care for a job. That's it. They just want something to fall back on, and they were not really very, very motivated. And it wasn't seriously. It wasn't. They couldn't feel the pain that I went through. I knew that if I lost the business, if I lost the deals, if I lost leads, right, it was wasted money for me, and I couldn't. There was no way I could recover back the money. But these, employees that I hired, they didn't have that kind of thinking. They did not think like a businessman. If they were thinking like that, then they would obviously already have their own business, right? Because remember, I was hiring, part-time students. I was hiring other people who were basically employees. I wasn't hiring real estate agents, because obviously you do not need realtors to follow up. You do not really need realtors to call them up or do admin job. You can easily get an assistant, and that's what I did all those years ago. And that's where that led me down this problem. And the problem was because it was my money, and the follow up wasn't as quick, wasn't very speedy, it wasn't very fast enough. and that's why I was losing money. I was losing all those leads, and that's why I realized that I needed somebody with the right personality. That's the most important the takeaway that after I spoke to my mentor, I spoke to my upline, I spoke to a lot of other people. I realized that the person who needed to sit down and do follow up with the leads needs to be a specific type of personality. It cannot be the personality, for example, me. I'm just giving you an example, right? I'm the kind of guy who is all about closing. So I'm a hunter, right? And the feeling of closing is amazing to me, and I live for the sale, right? Because I live for the deal. So I love deals, I love closing deals, I love shaking customers' hands. That's me, right? But my mistake is not really a mistake, it's the flaw, because basically I wasn't good enough with follow up, wasn't good enough with calling the leads, wasn't good enough with basically chasing all those future prospects who were not ready to buy. If they were ready to buy, if they were ready to meet me in an appointment, then yes, I had a very high closing rate, and I was very confident on closing them. And true enough, I managed to close 85% of all the appointments that I had, and it was consistently month in, month out. Yet the balance 15% were not closing, and that was because for various reasons, maybe they were not ready, or maybe the timing wasn't right, or maybe they had issues with money, whatever it is, right? And I couldn't be I couldn't be going after them because I didn't have the patience for that. So that you must recognize whether you fall into the similar category as me. I was a hunter. Are you a hunter? You need an employee who is okay with sitting down for 8 hours a day at the desk, at a desk-bound job. So find somebody who is suitable for a desk-bound job, and that's what I did. And it had bear with me, because why is that important? That's important because only the right kind of personality will, or the right kind of person who is very thorough, who is very step by step, will be willing to sit down and for 8 hours at a stretch, 8 hours straight for the day. They are willing to sit down. That's the kind of guy I want, and I got it right. And the next thing that I did was basically I automated some of my follow up. I used technology. I used some of the automation which was available to me at the time, and that's what I did. And when I got the automation, what happened was that all those prospects who were not ready to buy, basically I entered them into a funnel, right? And that funnel took care of a lot of automation. I had a lot of things going on. I designed the funnel. I used my own software, all right? And then after that happened, right, those prospects who were reaching out to us, basically they were assigned to one of our admin, and it was the job of the admin to follow up with them. And the admin, that's the thing, right? So how do you get somebody who does all the follow up for you, who can call on the spot? Like I said, number one is the personality, all right? Number two is that you have to train them. If you don't emphasize the importance of follow up to them, they won't do it. Simple as that. You have to lead by example, and that's what I did. I recorded myself how I did my follow up, and I was very serious about results, and I observed them how they did the follow up on the spot, and I would get them to be accountable to me. So the first thing is personality, right? The second thing is accountability. The employee or the person, doesn't matter whoever it is, who is in charge of following up on all your leads, right, must be 100% accountable to you. Because if he's not accountable to you, then he is going to waste your money, he's going to waste your advertising budget, he's going to waste your marketing budget, he's going to waste all the salaries that you are paying out. Why? Because some people, they just want an easy life. They just don't want they don't want to work too hard. They just in it for the money. They just want a job, right? And you have to ask yourself, whether these kind of people, are they truly aligned to the kind of work culture that you want to build. You want somebody with the right personality. You need somebody with the right accountability. So you and he, both all of you must be fully accountable. That means that at the end of the day, he must tell you how many closings, how many appointments, how many follow up, how many calls made, how much follow up done. All these must be systemized, and he must report to you, right? So that's the thing. right? If you can solve the first problem about personality, you will solve 80% of the problem, all right? And then the remaining 20% of the problem you can only solve with accountability, and the person is fully accountable to you. They are able to get the job done. Otherwise, you just get rid of them. And here's the thing, right? Hire slow, fire fast. That's what I teach. That's what I learned from my mentor, and that's what I teach my agents as well. Hire slow, fire fast. Why is that so? Because you are in this business to make a profit. If you can't make a profit, you have to let the employee go. Let them go. Simple as that. All right. If they can't produce result, if they can't give you, valid reason, not excuses, valid reasons for not quickly following up with prospect, quickly following up with appointment, with leads, then you have to fire them on the spot. On the spot. No excuses, because how they do something is how they do everything. And I learned it the hard way, and I'm sharing with you all my failures, all my learnings and all that. So it all comes down to the right personality, and it comes down to accountability. You have to, okay, personality is pretty much easy once you know who you want, right? Because the person is basically, a personality runs the person, right? So his habit is a combination of his habit, the kind of, person he is, what's his motivation. It's all comes in a package, and that package is called personality. And once you find the right person, it's very easy to let them just run on autopilot. That's it, right? The second thing, accountability. You have to automate it. You have to make it a part of your daily routine. What the things that you have to do on a daily basis? What are the things that they have to do on a weekly basis? What are the things that they have to do on a monthly basis? What are the things that they have to do on a quarterly or even a yearly basis? So you have to institute, you have to, systemize these things in the job. Think about it as a job, and what are the things that you don't want to do, and just give it to them. That's it. All right. And then when you do it the right way, when you have the right person, when you have the right, accountability in place, then you will find that you will solve the majority of your follow-up problems seriously, and you will have more business than you can handle, and that's a good thing. All right. So now I hope that I have answered, your concern how to actually, get others to do follow-up for you. Now I'm going to move on to today's topic, which has to do with mortgagee sales and why and how to get this source of business. So, every agent, right, I'm sure they know about what mortgagee sales, right? So, banks and lenders, for example, they finance their home, right? So basically, when home buyers are unable to, make the monthly payment, then, something happens, something bad happens, right? They either get repossessed or, other bad things happen. And then, the house enters into an auction, but it's up to the, bank what they want to do with it, right? So in the past 3 years, in Singapore itself, right? If you look at the data, if you take a look at all the statistics, then you should know that these kind of mortgage sales, are on the upswing. They have been on a trend which is going up for the past few years, and that's a good opportunity for you. Now, more and more people will be on the market, more and more, such homes will be on the market, and that is a good source of income for you. All right. So how, it's easy basically, because banks are motivated. They want to make the sale. They want to make the sale, right? And bankers are not as emotional as the usual sellers, and they know what price they're easier to work with. They're more professional, and you don't have to do much of managing their mindset, because they already know what they want to do, and they're very, very professional. So your job is much simpler compared to working with typical sellers who have emotional ideas about their home, who have sentimental value, and who don't want to listen to the market price, don't want to listen to property agent. You will face none of these problems when you work with mortgage sales, when you work with bank auctions, when you work with banks directly. All right. So okay, and banks, the inventory of such homes on the market is only going to increase, right? Especially now that Singapore is already in a recession. So check with them. And the next step is, how do you get this business? Basically, you develop a relationship with the banker. Of course, the old-fashioned way is to just meet them, exchange name card, exchange number, and then the newer method is basically go on LinkedIn, find all the bankers who are working in specific bank, just send a message, and this is the tip from me. So just show them value, tell them that you have a list of buyers, you have a database of buyers who are willing to look for or get a quick sale. All right, so entice them, try to understand the banker's motivation, and get them to join with you. And that's a good source of business, because that's number one, that's quick money. Number two, it's not one thing leads to another, right? It just doesn't stop there. So obviously you will have, if you are capable, if you get results fast, if you're able to satisfy the bank, you're able to satisfy the banker, right? Then you should have a continuous source of business. And that's the good thing, that's the seriously good thing. Then that means that you spend less time prospecting and you spend more time actually selling and working with the right, choosing, picking and working with the right kind of buyer who know that this is a mortgage sale and who have the money. And people who are sitting on a lot of cash, right? They are prime targets for this. And seriously, to advertise the listing is simple, so easy. And seriously, you can even show the banker that you have certain type of ads that you are running. For example, even I used to run, and one of the ways that I would actually speak to bankers would actually show them actual proof. And I will screenshot my ad and I will show it to the banker on my phone. All right, and then I will tell them that I have I have ads running active in the market, and I have buyers inquiring about properties, and the buyers understand that this is a good deal. All right, and they will definitely want to have this kind of deal from the banker and from you. All right, so I think it's quite easy, it's not very difficult to convince the banker, convince the the organization, the lender to work with you, and that's the easy part. And I wouldn't say getting the leads is tough, but it requires more work on your part, because you have to sift through the buyers and talk to the buyers and call them and meet the buyers, and basically you have to use your own judgment to understand what kind of buyers, whether the buyers are serious or not, whether they're motivated or not, whether they are the right fit or not, whether they want to work with you on this sale or not. And then you make your own judgment, you make your own decision, and then you decide to sell them that listing. Simple as that. And for what kind of ads you need, very simple, just list or bank auction. That's it. Simple as that. And just in the past few years, right, we have basically generated hundred of leads a month just from a simple list of properties which are based on mortgage sales. That's it. Nothing complicated. So the best solutions are simple, but simple is not easy. You got to persevere, you got to see to the end. If you want to pick up a strategy, stick to it, and then that's how you reap the reward. You don't do 5,000 different strategies all over the place. You don't like many agents. What they're doing is that basically they're doing everything and anything. They're selling lender, they're selling Nilon, they're selling KDB, they're selling overseas. They're all over the place, right? So you decide what kind of buyers you want to serve. If you think that in my opinion, mortgage sales is a good opportunity, and if you want to go with it, just go with it. Just stick with it for the long term. Don't see your colleagues, don't see your upline or your direct upline, whatever they're doing. Just focus on what you're good at, and I'm sure you will reap all the rewards. All right. So if you have any questions, just shoot me a quick question, and basically I will be glad to answer all your questions. And I'll see you in my next Q&A helpline. Now go sell houses.